Let us all try to be worthy of Aurobindo centenary.
Good evening to everyone. On behalf of Sri Aurobindo Society Chennai branch, I welcome you all to this special satsang on the New Year's Eve, and we are very happy to have with us Dr. Alok Pandey ji, who is going to speak on the Mother's New Year messages. And Alok ji doesn't require any introduction because we are very familiar with his talks through YouTube, and many times he had personally participated in our satsangs. On behalf of Sri Aurobindo Society and on behalf of all those who are assembled here, I heartily welcome Dr. Alok ji. Welcome, Dr. Alok ji.
Namaste.
Over to you.
Vanakkam.
Namaste.
Yeah.
Norma, over to you, Alok ji. Please take it forward.
So, in the beginning, just a little bit of background about the new year and the new year messages, because people often ask, as we know, in different parts of India, we have so many new years. Every part has its own unique new year, and it's perfectly natural and fine. All that it means is that time moves cyclically as well as linearly. What is meant by cyclic movement is that after every cycle, it's like a chance to reorient ourselves. This we see in nature all the time, like day and night is a cycle. So we can take an example. We wake up in the morning, we are all fresh. Usually we have a beautiful aspiration. But as we go, meet, interact, lot of dust and dirt and all kinds of things start gathering around. So we come back and then we take a bath again. Some people take a bath at night, which is very good. Some take it in the next day morning, but we start the day afresh. So too, through an year, many things happen as the seasons change, and according to the changes of the season, the different effort, the different kind of events, circumstances, all kinds of reactions, responses collectively, they gather inside us and they obscure the core aspiration with which we are born. It happens during birthday also. Birthday is an individual's new year, actually, if you look at it that way. But what about the collective journey of man? So a new year is an opportunity when time is turning into a cycle, when we can get rid of the dust and the dirt, take a new bath, and once again rekindle the fire of aspiration. This is what it basically means. Now, I'm not going into how it is celebrated, understood, and that's a different story altogether. So, when do we have the new year? Mother says very clearly it's a convention. So, according to the collective convention, now we celebrate New Year on 1st January. But depending on where you start, the cycle will end there. The fact is that there is a cycle. In 365 days, Earth completes the cycle around the sun. But when did it start? So we don't know, or each one has his own understanding about it. Ideally, it should be with the seasons perfectly as the thaw begins and spring comes in. Logically, if we follow the science of nature, the cycle should start from there. But in the Western world, the Gregorian calendar, it starts with 25th December onwards. So if you see, the new year starts between 25th December and 6th of January. So 25th December is the day of the return of light. And 6th of January, it's not about Christ's birth, and that we have spoken, but nevertheless, it's celebrated as Christmas. And 6th January is the day of Epiphany. It falls right in between. So Epiphany is the day people from the East recognized in Christ that he is a savior and who has come. He is one of the messiahs who had been prophesied. So in the Western world, we see 1st January is celebrated. When it started, how it started, not relevant. But the fact is that large number of humanity now takes that 1st January is a starting of a new year, which is fine. But now the mother, we'll see something very interesting. She used all these conventions to help mankind go forward. So it's not like when at one point mother was asked, why do people celebrate festivals, Diwali and Christmas and all this? Mother said, because men like festivals. So we must understand the difference. She was not giving a sanction to an old way of life, but she was using an old way to which we were already accustomed for something new. So we see, for example, in one of our New Year prayers, something very beautiful. She says that what we should do on the end of the year, as the past is going behind, she says we should get rid of all artificiality and hypocrisy. I find this so beautiful because when she was asked much later that now that the supermind has come, what is it that it will reject? So she says, why it should reject anything? It will transform. If we take what Aurobindo has said, nothing will be rejected. So she says, after a silence, what it will reject is hypocrisy and artificiality. So if we look at it, what is artificiality and hypocrisy? It distorts the original truth of our own nature, the original human being. So she was rekindling that fire and asking us to get rid of all that pretensions, the shows, the shams, the crookedness, the lies, the falsehoods, the obscurity, which cover the fire of aspiration within us. And therefore, we are not able to really feel that inner fire. Of course, when the fire begins to rage, it automatically will start burning away these layers. So she says that this is how we should use the new year. Uh, the new year, start the new year. Then as to new year celebrations, now apart from the darshan days, the actual first account of celebration of new year's in the ashram, it was not a celebration. There was no show, there were no people gathering together outside and greeting each other. It was a very quiet affair. So from 1933 onwards, mother used to celebrate these 4 days started in the ashram. 29th March, 4th April. 4th April, she said, New Year of Pondicherry. And 29th March, the day of her first arrival. 25th December, which was the day of the return of the light, and 1st of January. So during these days at midnight, the mother would play the music, and after she would have played the music, she would be sitting in the first floor of the what today we have as the meditation room. Above that, on the first floor, and people will go there and do pranam, and they will receive usually new birth, those lovely from that plant, new birth. So it was like, now you are being born anew, born into a new possibility, a new light, a new way of looking at things, a complete change, overhauling of yourself. And they would quietly move away, go back to their places, wake up in the morning, and the day starts as usual. And then later on, she would start, after some time, this process stopped, and she would give darshan as we rise up the staircase of Sri Aurobindo's room. So we have a landing place right there in the center. Sometimes we'll see that there's a picture of mother or Sri Aurobindo there. On the left side, you go to mother's room, and on the right side, Sri Aurobindo's room. So there she would be seated. And people will go at midnight after the beautiful music, and they would receive again the prasad and come down silently. Then later on, when playground was made, then the whole thing shifted. I think it was 37 or maybe a year or two this way, that way, when this midnight thing stopped, and it started in the morning when people would go, and she would greet everybody with a bonane. That's how the morning 6 o'clock process started. And she would distribute calendar and a message card, and calendar and message cards were given to all who came. It was not just ashram inmates, it was people who came as devotees. They could go to the playground, they could receive from her own hands, and go back feeling blessed. Then again, changes took place, and as we know, from 62 onward, the mother never went to either playground or anywhere. In fact, she did not come down from the top room, which today we call as the mother's room, which was built in 54, 55. But the message and the calendar continued. So what were these messages? Unlike the Darshan Day message was something which she said, something we had tried, perfected, and knew its results. So it was meant to distribute to all. So that's how she was generalizing a truth which had been discovered. For instance, have faith and he will do everything for you. Now this is, she generalizing a truth that has been experimented upon by the divine and known, established, and now she was fixing it in the consciousness of earth. But or for example, one of the messages was that Sri Aurobindo is present among us. He reveals himself to those who have faith in him. So these were things which were confirmed, and they were being distributed on Darshan days. But the New Year message was, she would foresee what is going to come, and she would prepare us for that. And that is something very interesting when we read these messages, how she was foreseeing. Sometimes she would be asked, Mother, what is going to happen in the new year? And she would reveal the truth in the form of the message, and give us a way, a process to go through that whole journey. For example, one of the things was 1954 end. So 55 beginning. She gives a very interesting message. She tells people, no human will can finally prevail against the divine will. Put yourself deliberately on the side of the divine, and the victory is certain. Whose victory? Divine victory, not our individual victory. There is nothing like individual victory. So when she gave the message, later on she said, 14 months from now are going to be very, very difficult months. So this was on 1st January 1955. Exactly 14 months later, the supramental manifestation took place. So we hear about the 29th February 1956, and the message she gave in 1956, 1st January, is the greatest victories are the least noisy. The advent of a new world is not announced by the beating of drums. So she was cautioning us always. There was always a tendency in human consciousness to mix up vital things with something which is very solemn, something which is beautiful, something which is sacred and divine. So always they would caution us, even for darshan days. When Sri Aurobindo was asked that, Sir, this darshan day was exceptional. Sri Aurobindo said, is it really? You felt like that? So he says, yes. He says, on the contrary, there was an onrush of dark vital forces. The mother also said that if you felt it like that, it is something individual. So she would explain to us that because vital forces have a tendency to usurp anything, turn it into a fixed organized religion. So repeatedly they were cautioning us, don't turn these occasions again into some kind of the usual festivity that we as human beings are prone to. So now we read some of the messages from 33. As I said, they started in 1933. And the first message that is so beautiful reminder, we want to leave so many things behind, no? This defect, that defect, this problem, that problem. Mother once gave a wonderful clue. She says, don't, she said that there was a Sufi mystic who once shared with her something that he had felt, and she recounted what he shared, and he said, it is very, very true. And there she said, don't wash your stains one by one. This is my defect. This year I am going to overcome this. This is my problem. This year I am going to work upon it. She says, no, change the very uh, sheet. Now, this is what she spoke about reversal of consciousness. Because if our consciousness doesn't change, none of our resolutions have any real meaning and substance. And history of human beings is witness to the fact that how quick we are to resolve and how quicker we are to break that resolve. So that's because when consciousness doesn't change, nothing really changes. So the first message she gives us is, let the 1933, let the birth of the new year be the new birth of our consciousness. So this new birth was well known in ancient spiritual traditions. In India, it was called becoming a Dvij, twice born. So in ancient India, people who were twice born, they used to wear a sacred thread so that you know this fellow is twice born. He is on a spiritual path. So people went and respected him and asked, now all that is gone because now you have only the sacred thread, but nothing sacred inside. But that was the beginning, that this person is twice born. So he became the into the role of a priest. Because why? Because he's a seeker after knowledge and he has some knowledge within himself. So these were the people who were regarded as twice born. In the Western world, they use the word twice born. In ancient India, the word used was dvij, dva, and aj, born. Born. Aj is the Sanskrit word for born. Andaja, jalaja. So those who were born again into the spiritual consciousness. So she is reminding us, be born to the new consciousness. Don't worry about other things. If you can achieve this, the rest will follow. If there is an inner change, there is a reversal, and all the rest is a natural consequence. Rather than trying to get rid of this problem, that problem, focus more and more on the one thing needful, which is the divine. Let's put it in the way she would ask us. Then she says, leaving the past far behind us, let us run towards a luminous future. Wonderful clue. When later on she was asked, Mother, what should we do to embody this new consciousness? She spoke of two things. Do not cling. And she said, not only do not cling to the past, but all our formations, the way we understand life, the way we approach it, our thought patterns, our ideas, all this to which we cling. And the second thing she says, thirst for the truth, thirst for light. So these are the two things: thirst for the divine, thirst for perfection. Call it any, it doesn't matter what name. So she says, leaving the past far behind us, let us run towards a luminous future. And 1934, the message was, Lord, the year is dying and our gratitude bows down to thee. So people may say that, well, not everything was good. Well, everything that happens ultimately is for the good, because it helps us to move toward the divine. In fact, very often things which we regard as painful have been some of the best means to hasten our aspiration. They are meant for that. Whereas if everything is fine, people are in their comfort. So they forget or they take life for granted. They take the divine for granted. So when we look back to the past, we should be grateful. And actually, to be grateful, we don't need any event. It is enough to be grateful that the divine is here. He has given us an aspiration. He has shown us a path, a wonderful goal. We don't need to be grateful for anything else. And so she says that great gratitude and our gratitude bows down to thee. People often send thank you messages. Thanks to all my friends, thanks to this person, that person. Let there be only one person. That person is the divine. If we have conveyed our thanks to him, he will convey it to whomsoever he wants to convey in his own way. So let us deposit all our gratitude messages and cards and everything to in his big kitty store, and let him distribute it to whomever and in whatever way, because he will know best how exactly. We just say a word, sorry, thank you, they have become meaningless. But when we say to the divine, say, let's say sorry. Somebody asked the mother that, I have done this mistake with that person. Should I say sorry? She says, that is not important. You should recognize the mistake and you should pray to the divine to remove it. How does it matter? Saying sorry, you can say sorry 100 times, commit the same mistake, and even if you don't commit, it doesn't help. So, all our reference point should be the divine. So, she says gratitude to the divine. Lord, the year is reborn. Our prayer rises up to thee. Let it be for us also the dawn of a new life. It is a very beautiful prayer of the mother. She says, I consecrated to thee the first moment of this year. And I remember it like, people at midnight, what all do they engage in? But to consecrate the first moment of this year is from our prayers and meditation. I consecrated to thee the first moment of this year. My life is yours. Everything is yours. We have to renew this application even after it has been accepted, but to keep reminding time to time that I'm yours. So she says, let it be for us also the dawn of a new life. This new life, which is no more based on the old world ways, understanding, methods, etc. And then in 1935, we surrender to thee this evening all that is artificial and false. Plenty of things, which is why some people, on Holy Sankranti, people burn. So, what we should burn? All that is artificial and false, all that pretends and imitates. After all, the truth is inside all of us, individually and collectively. But there is so much pretension, so much hypocrisy, so much lip service. Let it disappear with the year that is at an end. May only what is perfectly true, sincere, straight, and pure subsist in the year that is beginning. And then it goes on. Now, I want to read some of these messages which come a little later. One of them is very interesting. It's in 1947. So, this is the year when the World War is ended, just ended. And we know what gory things happened, and also the year when India got freedom. So, now see, 1st January 1947. Put it in the context of India's freedom at midnight of 15th August 1947. So, what is the mother revealing to us? This is not a prayer, but an encouragement. Here is the encouragement and a comment upon it. So, what is the prayer or what is the encouragement she is giving us? At the very moment when everything seems to go from bad to worse, it is then that we must make a supreme act of faith and know that the grace will never fail us. And this is so, so, so true. So many times, this is something one can keep testing and retesting, but we must make an act of faith. Not like halfway through you give up. Sometimes one has to persevere, persist with this faith. And then she reminds us, the hours before the dawn are always the darkest. So all darkness is a preparation for a new dawn. This servitude, now come see. She is speaking of the freedom that is going to come. The servitude just before freedom comes is the most painful of all. And we know what happened just around the time of freedom. But she is not reminding us of that. She is reminding us of the freedom that is going to come, the light that is going to come. But in the heart, endowed with faith, burns the eternal flame of hope, which leaves no room for discouragement. So, never in life to be discouraged. Frankly speaking, to be discouraged means we don't have trust in the divine, as simple as that. A heart that is endowed with faith never feels discouraged. In every situation, every circumstance, it knows that the divine is with me and is carrying me, will carrying me through everything. This is another very beautiful message to be remembered always. Forward 48. Forward, forever forward. This was one of the favorite ones of Amal Kiran. So when people would ask him, he would often give this message. Sometimes he will give his own little thing added to it. Do not look left, do not look right, go straight to the goal. But he'll start with forward, ever forward. Mother is reminding us forward, forever forward. At the end of the tunnel is the light, at the end of the fight is the victory. What it means is when there is darkness, don't sit there and say, lament, oh my God, look, so much darkness. Start cursing yourself, cursing the world. Move forward in whatever way, even if one is inching a little, move forward. Don't sit, don't look back, don't turn backward. Keep moving forward. At the end of the tunnel is the light. How beautiful this is. And now you see, 1949, Sri Aurobindo had taken a decision. Actually, 47 he had hinted, but 49 he had taken a decision to withdraw. And 50, and this is what he did. And the mother's message is so powerful. That time the mother had said, if one has to withdraw, I will withdraw. And Sri Aurobindo said, no, you have to fulfill our yoga of transformation. The message of 1949 is, Lord, on the eve of the new year, I ask thee what I must say. Thou hast made me see to extreme possibilities and given me the command to keep silent. So there are things which obviously they knew about everything, and yet they kept silent, because to speak about them would have been neither proper, and where is mankind ready to receive the foresight? But in 1951, she gives a beautiful message. Now, this is less than a month after Sri Aurobindo's physical withdrawal. But look, this is the mother. She's not asking us to get into lamentations and, feel sad. Always asking us to move forward. This is something so beautiful. Actually, the word Agni means to move forward. It comes from the root Ag. In Hindi, we have the term Age. Sanskrit root is Ag. To move forward. This is what she is constantly telling us. So in 1951, she gives a message, Lord, we are upon earth to accomplish thy work of transformation. It is our sole will, our sole preoccupation. Grant that it may be also our sole occupation, and that all our actions may help us towards this single goal. So there are very interesting things about this preoccupation and occupation. People sometimes say that, oh, someone fell ill, somebody died, and things happen in life. So instead of lamenting, we should try to understand why this happens. It's not about an individual, it's about why there is suffering and pain upon earth. What could be the possible solution for it? That's it, the difference between a Buddha and a common person. I won't use the word Sri Aurobindo as a common person. But what is the difference? We all experience in life suffering, pain, struggle, challenges. But we try to just work out our little suffering, our little struggle, and somehow we want to manage life. But actually, we should go to the root cause, and the root cause is the imperfection of matter and of human consciousness. So she says that it should be our sole occupation. Now, the difference between preoccupation is time to time. It is there in the background, but time to time it resurfaces. Occupation is, this is what I want to do, this is what I am meant to do. This is my job description. So our job description, now we can no longer keep those, cards we keep. What's your job? People are so happy to take out. Sometimes even when you have not asked, they are very happy to put it on your table and they expect you to read it. What is our job description? To be able to surrender every breath and heartbeat in every life to the divine. It's a much more difficult and challenging job than any we can imagine. This is the great adventure to which she invites us. And then we spoke of 55 and 56. And then in 57 after, now we have a series of messages which are very interesting. So 56, the supramental manifestation has taken place. And the message that comes is, a power greater than that of evil can alone win the victory. It is not a crucified, but a glorified body that will save the world. So there is a background to this message, which she reveals in another conversation. The background is that there was somebody from the Western context, a Christian, who made a very nice pamphlet that there should be world peace and harmony. And, we all love these terms. There should be world peace, harmony, and people should have goodwill for each other. So when she saw that those cards which were made, Mother says, it is the highest that human beings can feel. And she says, though it came from a Christian context, but there are people all over the world who want peace and harmony. And she says, I appreciate that. But it cannot be done this way. So she says, because it came from the Christian world, therefore I use the word. I mean, Christ, as Aurobindo said, knew. He foresaw the failure of his mission. And yet he did something which is so beautiful. Christ from his cross humanized Europe. But that humanizing is not enough. Something more is needed, and that is the transformation of the body. So she speaks about that this means that it is just the thing which can make the goodwill of mankind, the best being expressed on earth today, progress. And then he says it has taken a rather special form because it came from a Christian country. But this is an attitude which is found everywhere in the world. We have Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina in our own Indian context. In every religion, you have something like universal brotherhood. But why do they fail? Because problem is not in our depths. The problem is on the surface consciousness, the outer personality, in our material existence. That is where the problem is. Problem is because through evolution, we carry the animal and the asura, everything inside us. So she says, naturally, there is the same idea in India, the idea of the complete renunciation of all physical reality, the profound contempt for the material world. So when people feel that nothing can change it, they take this approach. And then she says, if you escape from the concrete reality to seek a distant and abstract one, you leave the whole field of concrete realization at the full disposal of the adverse forces which have taken hold of it and more or less govern it. Now, in order to the return into nirvana, this idea is everywhere in the world, but expresses itself in different forms. So there have been Buddhist monasteries, there are Christian convents and monasteries, there are Indian ashramas which speak about, withdrawal from earthly life and nirvana, etc., etc. So what we are doing, one is the collective effort that a human being needs to make to contribute to the world progress. He is refusing that. Second, because he is leaving the field, now you are allowing these forces to occupy it. So that's not regarded as the perfect ideal. At least in India, you see these both streams. The earlier stream was the kings who continued to rule, and they were yogis. But later on, this division came that a yogi is meant to renounce the world outwardly. Whereas Sri Krishna spoke about inner tyag and not outer sannyas. But this is how it tends to take hold of the human consciousness everywhere. Because human consciousness cannot understand this vast teaching which is meant for the strong. There's a passage where Aurobindo says, I have not come here to create mutts and sannyasins. That's not what he has come here to create. And then he says, I have come here to call the souls of the strong to the Leela of Krishna and Kali. This is what we are here for. And so the mother says, because until now, evil has been opposed by weakness, by a spiritual force without any power for transformation in the material world. This tremendous effort of goodwill has ended only in deplorable failure and left the world in the same state of misery and corruption and falsehood. It is on the same plane as the one where the adverse forces are ruling that one must have a greater power than theirs. Then she reminds us this force is the supramental force, and then toward the end comes something very powerful. And I feel this is something we should etch in our hearts and keep it forever, right on every door inside us. It is neither sacrifice, nor renunciation, nor weakness which can bring the victory. Very powerful. It is only delight. Just imagine. Delight in the battle, delight in the victory, delight even in the failure and the loss. Delight when the sword is used, delight when it is broken and thrown aside. To discover that constant delight. That's what Krishna stands for. So she says it is neither sacrifice, nor renunciation, nor weakness which can bring the victory. It is only delight, a delight which is strength. Because you are never discouraged. You don't give up because of that delight. At one place, Sri Aurobindo says it is only the delight and divine delight and love that has made me bear the burden which I have borne and all must bear who want to raise this fallen world. Delight. So she says, a delight which is strength, endurance, supreme courage. And the greatest courage is to renounce, sacrifice the ego, to slay the ego, to tell your hour is gone. So that delight, the delight brought by the supramental force, it is much more difficult than giving everything up and running away. It demands an infinitely greater heroism, but that is the only way to conquer. And as we know that the mother says that heroism is not what men understand. Heroism to tell your ego that your hour is gone. All hurts, all pains are nothing but the ego. All insults are nothing but the ego. I think yesterday or day before I was reading this, one of Sri Aurobindo's poems. He says, easy it is to love. In return for love, in a shopman's heart, he who when, what was the word, slain or something, he who when receives the blow, yet gives the kiss, receives and gives the kiss, he loves. So that power that comes, it's not a weakness, it's not like, oh, I'm helplessly. No, it's a greater love. Every time there is a challenge, bring out a greater love, a greater delight, a greater peace. And very interesting question then the person asked on this message. Mother, this new force which is going to act, now this is 57. Will it act through individual effort or independently of it? She says, why this opposition? The supramental will actually make us do effort. That is the law. As he says, it acts independently of all individual effort, as if automatically in the world, but it creates individual effort. It will inspire us to act in certain ways. See, this is the trick of the divine. The sooner we understand, the better it is. So, as a, just on a little personal note, I had shared all this, I had read all this about the Gita, discernment, turn the buddhi inward, upward, nishkam. But then nishkam karma, I found very good. Discernment, all is okay. Nishkam karma. Then a love for the divine. I said, this is wonderful. But this chapter on discernment was left. I said, what is the need? But then the divine will make you do it. He'll bring you to it and make you do it. So he makes you do the effort. So it is something so interesting that he will. Individual effort is one of its means of action and perhaps the most powerful. So this idea that mother will do everything, this is, even today, for example, now we must know the messages are stopped now from tomorrow. There'll be no New Year message being given from the ashram, no darshan message cards. So somebody responded to it saying, let thy will be done. It is not necessary that everything that happens is the divine will, because there is always a play of the human and the divine will. So if we just say everything that, whatever mother wants, we should instead say, mother, may I want what you want? I have a little will, I offer it to you. You become this will, so that all I think and feel and will and act be an expression of yours. So this is how we should lead our life. If one thinks that individual effort is due to the individual, it is an illusion, obviously, because every ingredient of ours is given by nature, which of course is a child of the divine mother. And how we use it, that choice is ours still. Not making a choice is also a choice, as Shri Krishna says in the Gita. Not making an effort is also an effort. What we have to do is the direction of the effort. We may choose not to act, fine, but it should be a conscious choice and not a helpless situation. But if the individual, under the pretext that there is a universal action independent of himself, refuses to make an individual effort, he refuses to give his collaboration. The force wants to use and does in fact use individual effort as one of the most powerful means at its disposal. It is the force itself. It is this power which is your individual effort. So we cannot say mother will do everything. Of course she will do, but she will also use our individual effort as part of that process, because we are part of that larger becoming. I can't deny my role in that whole process of becoming. But here comes the trick: whether I am aligned to the will or I am not aligned to the divine will, that is the effort. And so you see, the first movement of vital self conceit, when it is told, you don't exist in yourself, naturally it says, all right, I won't do anything anymore. I'm not the one who works, so I won't work any longer. She uses the word vital self conceit. And very good. The divine can do everything, it is his business. I won't stir anymore if the credit does not go to me. See, that is one problem, that in this yoga, everybody know what I have to do. That is one extreme. Why? Because you give credit to the divine, then there is a problem. The mother does everything, but mother does everything including through me. I am part of her action in this world. Well, but indeed, there is no word for such things. This is something I constantly hear. It is simply a way of venting one's offended self conceit. That's all. But the true reaction, the pure reaction, is an enthusiastic impulse of collaboration to play the game with all the energy, the willpower at the disposal of one's consciousness. Whatever is the field given to me, however small, maybe mending the shoe, I must do it as a service, so that I satisfy the divine within me, the demand of perfection in that shoe mending. Or if I am given the task of running a kingdom, I must do it with an equal fervor, enthusiasm, and surrender to the divine. And tomorrow, if it is taken away, I shouldn't cry. Oh, see, divine has forgotten me. No. He who to some gives victory, joy, and good, to some gives rest. And time to time. So we should live with that state of inner equanimity. We know how Mr. Talwar, once the RBI head, and he refused to sign something which I think it was during emergency or just around that time, and he refused. And he was told that it is the finance minister via the prime minister via the finance minister. Then he wants you to do it. So he said, no, I can't do it because it's not right, not the right thing to do. Then says, then you will, you choose, you'll have to resign. He says, fine. So he started walking out. Next day, he said, not a single day I need to stay. And then there was a farewell given to him, a very quick farewell. And some of them people felt very sad and they said, we are so sorry for you. He said, why? He said, because you have to go this way. He said, no, the Divine Mother had put me here. Now she is calling me directly in her service. Why should you be sorry? It's something very nice. So now I'll go and serve her directly. Right now I was serving her this way. And when he came here to the ashram, he was asked what work he will do. Now this I heard directly from the person who was present. So he said, see, if I come and join the ashram, you will send me to training room. This was his reply. I will do what I'm best meant for. So he opened a consultancy. And entire money he would give to the ashram, which was a huge amount of money. And he said, that's my way of serving. So this idea that this is the only way you serve, this way, this all should be supple, plastic, wide, open to the divine will. And then the divine takes care. So the mother reminds us that is the true movement, to feel that one's will is intensified to the utmost because it is no longer a tiny little microscopic person in infinity, but an infinite universal person which makes you act the force of truth. That is the true reaction. That's what we know the whole Gita is about. That Arjun, you can make a choice, I won't stop you. My will be done regardless of you, but I'm giving you this choice and this chance because you're dear to me. And then he surrenders his will. And when he surrenders his will and acts that, Keshav, you tell me what I have to do. And this, now victory is certain. Wherever there is Krishna, wherever there is Partha, there is victory. The other one, miserable. I am not the one who is doing things. It is not my will being expressed. It is not my power. So I lie down flat, stretch myself out in inert passivity, and I won't move. Very well, then, one tells the divine, do whatever you like, I don't exist any longer. And she says, that is poor indeed. And that is what the mother said, Aurobindo said, is tamasic surrender. That everything will be done for you doesn't mean this. You have to make your choice. The aspiration you have to do. Rejection, even surrender is a conscious act. And then the divine takes up that little squirrel inside and makes it Rama squirrel. And that changes everything. And then there are a number of beautiful messages. Each of them is has a history behind it, but obviously time constraint is there in collected works. 1958 message where she speaks about material nature collaborating, and that was a very big event in which has gone unnoticed. People don't understand its significance. There in Mother's collected works, volume 9, you will find the significance of this message. And then at the very bottom of Inconscience, she plunges, and here there is a little history. 1959, as we know, that after that the mother stopped classes. So she used to take the class, and she would see people so unconsciously sitting there, playground. So she said, what is there in these people? Why are they so unconscious? So she went into their consciousness, human consciousness. Not those people alone, it's us people, humanity. Then she made a discovery. She went deep inside us and she saw what unconsciousness is there in human nature. So she goes, and that discovery she made and she gave as a message for 1959. At the very bottom of the inconscience, most hard and rigid and narrow and stifling. This was the mental world of human beings. Very narrow. That's why today itself, somebody said, Aurobindo writings, you cannot understand spiritual things with a mental consciousness. One has to have a spiritual consciousness, which by its nature, if not a free universal intelligence, it is at least a vast and supple intelligence. Otherwise, it turns into a fixed religious dogma. Do this, don't do this. Right, wrong, it just gets into that and finishes the great truth. So she says that at the very bottom of the inconscience, most hard and rigid and narrow and stifling, I struck upon an almighty spring that cast me forthwith into a formless, limitless, vast, vibrating with the seeds of a new world. She saw, yes, there is so much darkness and consciousness, but the seeds of the new world are still there, and she brings it out. That's how the bridge is built between the seeds of the new world in the inconscious and the supramental world that is manifesting. She becomes the bridge. Very beautiful 1960 message. Always to remember, to know is good. Of course, this knowing is not book knowledge. To know is good. With Sri Aurobindo and the mother, even to just have the book knowledge, one must read everything they have said upon a subject. Then the discernment comes. Otherwise, we see all kinds of things circulating. Like recently, that what mother spoke about Indra and what she spoke. We must know that she has spoken other things also, incidentally, for everybody. So to put up a thing out of context is another way to use their writings for political and other purposes. We should not do that. But people do that all the time. When you read the entire panorama, then you realize, oh, she looked at it. This is about a person. What about the teachings? So vast, so infinite. There is this cling to truth written when we go upstairs, and the mother says, what can I do? Everybody now believes that he is in truth. And they want to point out, so and so is in falsehood. And she says, everybody have their shibboleths. Somebody is a vegetarian and believes every non-vegetarian person is a sinner. Somebody who believes if somebody is a friend, then that person is sinner. He says everybody is having their own weak spots and they think others. What do they know of truth? And then she was asked, Mother, how to know truth? She says, you should be sincere. If you want to know it, truth will reveal itself. But don't make a formula out of it. So to know is good, to live is better. How? By living it. To be, that is perfect. The 61 message again, she gave a long commentary. This wonderful world of delight waiting at our gates for our call to come down upon earth. 56, they had brought down the supramental. But mother she did not stop there. She wanted the world of delight because that's the next step. So she was asked, Mother, isn't supramental the world of delight? She says, no, it's a preparation, truth consciousness. If we don't live in truth, we may speak about Krishna as Anandamay, but we'll turn all that into something which is very low. So she says that world of delight had come. It used to come. That is the consciousness of Radha. It would come in 1940s, it would come. But man is not ready. When she was asked, how can man become ready to receive it? She says, you have to be a super Parsifal. That means you should not be drawn towards any pleasure. Now that cannot be unless supramental transformation has taken place. So it's not about coercing and suppressing things. It's about transforming things. Then 62, of course, we know that something very powerful took place subsequently. We thirst for perfection, not this human perfection, which is a perfection of the ego and bars the way to the divine perfection. What a revelation. So she says people who are very good or very perfect, who believe they are too good people, don't try to convert them. They are not ready. They would lose this and not get this. That's why when someone asked Sri Aurobindo, Niruddha, that, I wish you had disciples like Vivekananda. We have us who are, what specimen, what kind of disciples are we? Sri Aurobindo says, as to disciples, I agree. Kismat. And then he says something interesting. But as to Vivekananda, we don't know whether he would agree to this. And if he agreed, the ordinary humanity will not come out. Because in this yoga, there is a tremendous pressure to cleanse, purify, transform. So it is bound to come out, which remains covered when you move in the world like sannyasi. So she says, we don't want this human perfection, but the divine perfection. In everything, the divine should manifest. But that one perfection which has the power to manifest upon earth the eternal truth. and not the human perfection, which is perfection of the ego. Oh, he's such a wonderful person, so highly educated. Starts from there. But he plays very good music also. He's a scientist and musician. And look at his humility. Everybody bows down and does namaskar. It means nothing from the divine point of view. If inside he's feeling, yes, very true. After all, humility is to know before the divine nothing. All achievements count for nothing except one. And that too is the divine grace, to know the divine, to realize the divine, to live the divine, to breathe the divine, to become the divine. Now starts series of messages. 1963. I believe this is the message they are going to play tomorrow. It's important. Let us prepare for the hour of God. Now she's telling us that look, this is hour of God has started, and we know it is based on that writing of Aurobindo, the hour of God. And she said it is the hour when all the old bases get shaken. Everything will turn topsy-turvy. The rise will fall, become low, and the low will rise. There is disorientation everywhere. She says, but don't worry. Hold on to the truth of your being and try to become more and more sincere. Then even if you fall, you will return. But if you don't want to become sincere, then even if you are seemingly enjoying everything, suddenly you will crash. So in the hour of God, cleanse thy soul of all self-deceit. Now again it comes, same thing. Cleanse thy soul of all self-deceit and hypocrisy, that thou mayst look straight into the eyes of the Master. How beautiful it is. All that was a defense, the armor against the Master. Now it invites a blow. Each insincerity. And then she says, don't be caught napping. Unfortunate, unhappy is the man or the nation that is found sleeping when the hour of God arrives. But thrice woe to those who are strong and ready, yet waste the force and misuse the moment. There is a purpose for which that mother's transformation force is working. And if we waste it, go about our life in the usual round of ways, then it makes no meaning. So 64, then she tells us, are you ready? She was asked, Mother, ready about what? She says, about the hour of God. I told you last year. Are you ready? 65, salute to the advent of truth. And he was asked, Mother, how will I know the truth? She says, ask yourself inside. Be sincere and you will know it. No mental definitions. So she was asked how to prepare ourselves for truth and to recognize it. Then she gave a practical method. Very important. I think this should be put up into our everybody's for a long time. I used to at least use it to practice. The best thing to do is to distinguish in oneself the origin of all one's movements. Those that come from the light of truth and those that come from the old inertia and falsehood. In order to accept the first and to refuse or reject the others. Now, Mother, tell us something more practical. So she says, with practice, one learns to distinguish more and more clearly, but one can establish as a general rule. What is the general rule? That all that lends towards disharmony. At one, she says, all that creates harmony is very dear to me. Another place, she says, truth is supreme harmony and supreme delight. All that lends towards disharmony, disorder, and inertia comes from the falsehood. Why should I do inertia? I am tired and sick of all this inertia. Oh, there is so much disorder. Why I should try? It's not my fault, somebody else's. That's inertia. All that leads towards, and on the contrary, all that favors union, harmony, larger sense, order, and consciousness comes from the truth. All that makes us become more consciousness. all that makes us aware of the origin of our impulses, all that makes us build harmony within and around us comes from truth. This is only a hint, nothing more about how to take the first steps on the path. 66, let us serve the truth. And 67, men, countries, continents, the choice is imperative, truth or the abyss. We didn't listen, nations, most nations. And she was asked, what is the abyss? And she says, right now there is a great tension. They have all taken positions as if to start war. It is the blind passion that men put into their international relations. At the base of all, there is fear, general distrust, and what they believe to be their interests: money, business. All the nations, they will do anything for the sake of money and their power. A combination of these three things, when these three lowest passions of humanity are brought into play, that is what I called abyss. So this is lust for power, greed for money, and fear. This is where these three come into play. You can, that is the abyss. Now people will say, but that fellow is enjoying life. Yeah, in the abyss, you have Ravan ka Sone ka Lanka. It doesn't matter. You're at the dream world on the other side of the globe. It's not about you enjoying. People enjoy all kinds of things, but it is the abyss. When you live in the abyss, it's a very dangerous situation to be in. So she says, but when someone has decided to consecrate his life to the seeking for the divine, if he is sincere, if the resolution is sincere and carried out sincerely, there is absolutely nothing to fear. Because all that happens or will happen to him will lead him by the shortest way to this realization. And then she reminds us that is the response of the grace. People believe that the grace means making everything smooth for all your life. It is not true. The grace works for the realization of your aspiration, and everything is arranged to gain the most prompt, the quickest realization. So there is nothing to fear. Fear comes with insincerity. So if there is fear and depression, straight away, I am insincere. If you want a comfortable life, agreeable circumstances, etc., you are putting conditions and restrictions. And then you can fear. It is. But it has no business in the sadhana. Remain young next year, 68. Never stop striving towards perfection. 1969, No Words Acts. As we know, it was a very special year, the year of descent of the Superman consciousness. That's a very big chapter. But since then, life, the supramental manifestation in 58, in 62 and 69 took leaps and bounds. 67 and 69, but that's a subject in its own right. 70, and with this we can stop. She said, the world is preparing for a big change. Will you help? So the question was asked to Mother in 1919. Actually, it is not 1919. It was a prophecy that should have been made in 1909, before coming. Aurobindo wrote that the chaos and the calamities were perhaps the pangs of the birth of a new creation. Several places he has mentioned this. How long is this going to continue? In the ashram, in India, and eventually in the world? And Mother said, it will continue until the world is ready and willing to receive the new creation. The consciousness of this new creation is already at work upon earth since the beginning of this year. So we know about the Superman consciousness. If instead of resisting, people were collaborating, it would be quicker. But stupidity and ignorance are very obstinate. And then she says, Mother, how we can help? What is this change you are speaking of? And she says, first time she is making it public. She is mentioned within the ashram context, but now she is making it public. This great change is the appearance upon earth of a new race, which will be for man what man is for the animal. Can you imagine? She made it public. The consciousness of this new race is already at work, the Superman. Upon earth to enlighten all who are able to receive it and heed it. So, how can we help? To concentrate and open to receive the new progressive consciousness, to receive the new things which are coming down. And then she reminds us the change does not need our help to come, but we need to open ourselves to the consciousness so that its coming is not in vain for us. Those who open and are receptive, they are the ones who will grow. The rest, leave it to the rest. So then the sadhak asked one last question. To allow the free working of the new consciousness, what should a sadhak do? Mother said only two things. One, be receptive. How to be receptive? She said, with the giving yourself. The more we give, the more we create space for the divine to come. We want to hold on, keep everything within. We are like a closed box. So be receptive means open, call mother's name, read whatever way, and give yourself to her. Second, she said, and be plastic. Don't fix things. The divine has a penchant. He initiated Arjuna on the battlefield. He has a way of doing things which goes beyond our understanding. So be plastic. The first indispensable condition to prepare ourselves to receive the new consciousness is a true and spontaneous humility which makes us feel deeply that we know nothing and are nothing in the face of the marvelous things we have to acquire. All that we as human beings feel proud about is nothing. Imagine all the things that the chimpanzee felt proud about. Its tall stature, its muscular build, its ability to leap across. Maybe its tail. I don't know chimpanzees have tail or not, much less monkeys had tails. All that had no meaning when it entered the human world. 71. Blessed are those who take a leap towards the future. And finally, 72 is the centenary year. Let us all try to be worthy of Aurobindo centenary. And finally, 73, she's asking our consciousness to become vast, very vast. When you are conscious of the whole world at the same time, those who want to think only about their little ego self, their little family, their little consciousness as vast as the world. When you are conscious of the whole world at the same time, then you can become conscious of the divine. Thank you. Namaste. May the new birth, the new consciousness fill us, flood us each moment of every day, year after year, life after lives. And may the divine will be the victor in us and in everyone. Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Alok ji. In fact, it's the Mother's grace that this talk and your participation, despite the hustle and bustle which is going on in Pondicherry, your participation was possible. And you're nicely spoken about all the various messages the Mother has issued from 1933 onwards and till 1973. And 1970, she has asked us to collaborate. How to collaborate? You have highlighted that we should be open to her force. And the only way we can prepare ourselves for the collaboration is that we should be more and more humble before the divine. So these so many things you have spoken about. I think it is worthy that each one you have spoken about, we should contemplate on each of these things, so that the coming year, we can make the best use of it for our inner growth and to open ourselves more and more to the Mother and Sri Aurobindo. Thank you very much for your
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your participation on behalf of everyone who has assembled here and on behalf of Sri Aurobindo Society. I offer my thanks to you, Alokji. Thank you very much. And with the prayer music, this event will end.
Let us all try to be worthy of Sri Aurobindo's centenary.
Bhagavate Sri Aurobindo.